welcome to The Late Shift. My name is Val, and as always, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host,
James, Saul,
and Jonah.
We're holding hands in disbelief at the fact that we've managed to meet up again for a consecutive week to record our podcast. Congratulations, boys, we've done it!
We did it, guys. I mean, it's good that the hospital let us all out.
Yeah, with what he had last week, I really didn't think he was going to make it.
No, I was thinking more the mental hospital.
It's the stress of the revised format and the cramped schedule.
Broke him.
No, I was there just shouting about like, there are nuclear testings in the woods, it's some Russians.
And they caved the skull in like this. He just grabbed his man. You can't crush a human skull with human strength.
I've honestly not stopped thinking about what you were saying about Martin Luther King. Like, I didn't know anything about that, and made me go off on like
It's
this massive...
vindicated piracy.
I've dedicated the last week to just caring about what you guys thought. I've thought it over in my head.
Hey.
I've devoted an unholy amount of time to all of you this week.
Hey guys, and I mentioned Buffy last week, that's good.
And I haven't stopped thinking about it. Michelle Parallelogram. You know?
Anyway, I think what worked really well last time is that we just jumped right into the story and not made people listen to our awful stories about our lives. So let's listen to Today in History with Jamesy Boy. Jamesy Boy's bringing us a story from his favourite time in history today. Isn't that right, my darling?
Yeah. So I've because I don't like going second, like I did in the last week's episode, I decided to go right back to my comfort zone, my ballpark of Rome, and splash around in there so I get to go first.
Only if one of us takes an interest in ancient Egypt.
Good luck.
Go before him.
Good luck. Come on, because I'll just move right back again. You know I will. You're not going to win that antiquity war.
Yeah, is this going to be a
Neolithic era by the end of it? I'll go back.
Dinosaurs.
Oh yes, March the 17th was when the T-Rex first was bought hatched.
Well, March the 10th is the beginning of the universe.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that the 17th of March is the first T-Rex to be born.
Yeah. So a week later, after the universe was created, Marcus Aurelius died.
Exactly, that's how God works.
No,
7 days.
a T-Rex was
7
born.
days, God.
It was called Marcus Aurelius. But no, sorry. So, today, 17th of March, in 180 AD, Marcus Aurelius died. So, for all you who don't know who Marcus Aurelius is, which is...
Dumbledore.
No.
Yeah, he is. In the film, he's Dumbledore.
No, well, yeah, he is.
The party redacts this.
Well, no, but he is played by Richard Harris, so yeah, Marcus Aurelius is Dumbledore.
I was thinking like...
It's right, it's
Fast
succeeded
Nine?
by Johnny Cash. So.
Yeah. So...
No, I was thinking Gambon, but I was like, no,
Gambon
not
wasn't it?
Gambon. It was the other.
Harris. It was succeeded by Johnny Cash, yeah, because Joaquin Phoenix played. So anyway, today, on 17th
Marcus
of March...
Aurelius is assassinated by Snape.
Yeah, in front of Harry. But to be fair, it's not a bad analogy, because Marcus Aurelius is one of those figures who is seen as this really noble, enlightened philosopher emperor, and Commodus is totally a Malfoy.
So give some context to people who don't know anything about Rome.
Marcus Aurelius is a Roman emperor who...
What's Rome like at the time when he was ruling?
Huge. It's big. Marcus Aurelius is the era, he comes to the end of an era we call the Pax Romana, which is essentially a time of stability and peace in Rome. And it is when Rome's empire is at some of its greatest extent.
Didn't you tell us recently that was the best time to be alive?
One of the best times to be alive, yeah.
Like, somebody did research about, like, what
if you
would
were
be the
Roman,
best time.
obviously, because if you were a Thracian, you was getting your ass beat and whipped and in a salt mine or whatever. But for a Roman citizen, this was a great time to be alive. It really was. Marcus Aurelius is essentially, he's the last of a group we call the Five Good Emperors, who are a group of people who reign essentially by adoption, passing it to
sound like
worldly
a boy
success.
band.
The Five Good Emperors, they were a good boy band and Rome loved them. And we should love them because they were five good emperors.
Which one in the order is Marcus Aurelius?
Marcus Aurelius is, well...
Was he the bad boy, or was he like the good-looking one?
Was he the sporty one?
He had a good beard.
Is he Sporty Spice?
He liked looking a bit Greek, so he's probably, yeah, he'd be the equivalent of Sporty Spice.
Okay.
Because the others are all Roman looking, and he was like the eccentric Greek looking one.
Oh.
So yeah, he would.
Was he a good emperor, as his name suggests?
Yes, he was an incredible emperor. Now, Marcus Aurelius is what a lot of people don't realise is actually one of the key names in philosophy, because he was a massive philosopher as well as an emperor, and he wrote a book called the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, which is essentially his self-help book for himself. And I would really encourage anyone to read it, because it's great, because it's really easy to take Marcus Aurelius out and put yourself in. Because he writes all these things where he'll be like, I don't get up in the morning. I should get up, though. And kind of arguing
I can't stop playing Fortnite.
Can't get that in the tag 2 weeks in a row.
How long should I wait to text her back?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
He had a great deal of foresight for someone living in the 2nd century AD.
He did. He really did. He knew about Bitcoin before it happened. I mean, to be fair, this is jokes.
You think Da Vinci's notebooks are crazy? Aurelius, man.
Yeah. He
Get on his
invented the
level.
tampon.
And wormhole travel.
No, the point is though, this is us being facetious, but Marcus Aurelius is one of those people who, to a lot of Roman historians, is heralded at this level. We have so much written on him because he wrote it himself. People kind of herald him, and I want to blow him into something this kind of like, you know, enlightened despot, you know, like shining icon. He happens to be my second favourite. And Marcus Aurelius, he led a campaign in Germany, where he was actually expanding Rome's borders. Up until this point, Romans have been a bit touch and go about expanding Rome's borders, because Emperor Augustus, the first emperor, kind of drew a load of lines over some nice defensible rivers and went, don't grow anymore, it's bad mojo.
I said that when we were in Ireland.
Yeah.
When we talked about Augustus.
Yeah.
Oh, right, sorry. I was just thinking, like, saying to the Irish, like, don't grow anymore.
Sorry, the biggest failure of Marcus Aurelius, that most people attribute, is the fact that he didn't murder his own son, which I think is a bit unfair. He was Commodus, who is famous from Gladiator. Commodus was a very bad emperor. And on today, March 17th, Marcus Aurelius died, and Commodus took over. Now, Commodus, he made one really good decision at the start, which was to pull out of Germany, because what Marcus Aurelius had actually taken was pretty indefensible. He'd expanded a little bit, and Commodus just abandoned it all. Which was like, off. Commodus wanted to be a gladiator. He was obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And what Commodus did...
I forgot what piece of shit Commodus is.
Oh, he's terrible. Commodus is terrible. The whole Gladiator, the film, you'd look at that and be like, oh, he's real bad. It's nothing on the real Commodus. Commodus was... There's no scene where Joaquin Phoenix gets a load of dwarves into the arena, pretends he's a giant, and stamps them to death. Because that's what the real Commodus... Commodus became really enamoured of doing a gladiator. And obviously, from our modern perspectives, where we have such a focus on the arts and media and celebrity culture, you'd be like, oh, gladiators were already famous, which they were. But they were scum. Artists, musicians, gladiators, all scum.
I mean, we would argue they still are. Right? All
What?
artists are scum.
Are you coming to the gladiators?
You say that to Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. So Commodus tried to rename Rome to Commodus. He tried to rename Romans to Commodus's people.
Commodores. Why did they not go for that?
Because that wasn't a thing. He renamed, so he ruthlessly assassinated anyone in the Senate who could oppose him,
Yeah.
and then renamed it Commodus's Fortunate Senate. Because the guys who were still alive.
Is Kim Jong-un like inspired by Commodus?
Well, no, because he gets brutally murdered. Commodus. So what happens to Commodus?
You know, with the whole like the very fortunate blah blah blah.
Yeah. So
You know
what-
the weird
Yeah,
the
I
weird
think
names.
Commodus was doing it ironically.
Yeah,
though.
Commodus was
I
laughing in
think he
their
was doing
faces.
Cataly.
So what happened to Commodus is he had a gladiator trainer called Narcissus who trained him to be a gladiator, because Commodus was pretty wedge. You know, he would fight in the arena all the time, and obviously the plebs loved that. But they got a bit weirded out towards the end, you know, when he started stamping on dwarves. They're a bit
They're
like,
yeah, don't do that.
Stop it.
So, shouting, I am big giant man.
Essentially,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, you know, Gulliver's Travels with Jack Black.
Yeah,
But imagine being stamped to death by a Roman emperor. That's
It was
what
Jack
he did.
Black, but he had the same body type as he had in Brutal Legends, and he was stamping on dwarves.
Yes, essentially. Jack Black, I would put in a request to you, please get really, really buff, and then just reenact that scene with
What
Commodus.
do you mean get really really buff? He's already buff.
He's not buff.
He's got
a sex
proper
symbol.
dad bod.
He's
It's a
got quite a
sex
dad
symbol.
bod.
Yeah, you can be a sex symbol and still have a dad bod.
But you have a dad bod. Commodus didn't have a dad bod. That's in the mosaics.
Yeah. Was he? No, was he a bear?
He was a warrior. So
Yeah,
what
that
happened was, he worked his glamour muscles. So what happened is he would also give the other people he was up against a lead sword, so it was really heavy, so they couldn't fight him. And then he would also kind of low-key not tell them it was a fight to the death. So they'd come into the arena and they'd be like, ha 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 ha, and then he'd stab him in the throat. And be like, I got him again! Woo! No one could kind of get near Commodus for ages, because he would keep himself to his little kind of prune circle of friends. It was his wife who did him in the end, because they all figured out the only way they were going to get Commodus assassinated and get close is if they used Narcissus, who was obviously Commodus's best friend and gladiator trainer. So the way they killed him is the senators and his wife approached Narcissus and said, by the way, you know, he's killing these, he's giving them lead swords. He's doing it because Narcissus was under the illusion that this emperor was finding someone who was on his level, who believed in the honor of the arena like he did, who had killed all these great gladiators.
How old was Narcissus? Was he older than him?
Yeah, he was older than him. So what Narcissus did then is he walked into Commodus's bathhouse where they were obviously splashing and being like ha 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 ha, and he wrestled Commodus to death. So 2 naked men just slapping
Strangled
around.
or...
Who knows? He might have picked his cock up, jumped up and down, and pulled it right off by the end. We don't know.
No, but I just mean like normally wrestled isn't a word used for death.
Well, you probably strangled him.
Well,
yeah.
Killed him with his bare hands. Probably.
Yeah, killed him with his bare hands.
Yeah, the point is that he walked into the bathhouse and they wrestled, and he killed him.
Where's the mural that depicts that scene? That sounds hot.
You sounded so aroused by that. You're like 2 men, naked in the prime of their life, wrestling to the death.
Yeah.
One lives, one gets away.
One has his winky.
You sound like a Roman. Just there, like, I'm just going to slip a hand under my dress for a moment here. Watch these 2 men strangle one another to death.
Hey, don't mind my moving tunic.
Well, that's the thing. They wouldn't have had towels. They would have been.
Yeah,
they would have been
bollocks
naked.
out.
Oh, boys, please stop talking.
Like I said, butt naked. You went bollocks out.
Anyway, the point is that, and then Commodus then died.
Just to show our positioning in this, in watching this.
And what then happens next is something called the crisis of the 3rd century. So Commodus's reign ends the good old days of Rome, because Commodus had so eradicated the entire apparatus of Rome that provisional governors started seizing power and led to the crisis of the 3rd century. But there was a quote I actually found which sums up how terrible Marcus Aurelius' death and then Commodus's reign is, which was a quote from a Roman historian, Cassio Dio, discussing it afterwards. Describes it as, "Our history now descends from an empire of gold to one of iron and rust." So that's really how in decline Rome goes after Commodus, and it begins the crisis of the 3rd century, and Rome never recovers. Marcus Aurelius died on this day, and so many people criticise him for not killing his son, but which is, I think, a really unfair criticism of a man, to be like, oh, his biggest crime is he didn't just murder his own kid.
Yeah, because I mean, it'd be like saying, oh, worst people on earth were Hitler's parents. Why didn't they kill Hitler when he was a baby?
Yeah. And I just think that's not a fair criticism for him to make.
They didn't know it was going to be...
Yeah,
and actually, he was deliberately... People go, why would he such a smart man? Why did he do this? It's like, he was essentially enamoured with you, because probably in denial, because his own son. He spent so much time trying to raise Commodus right. He came to the conclusion that Commodus could be an Alexander the Great. Because Philip II had a nightmare of Alexander when he was young, because he was such a drinker, lads on tour kind of character, that he was like, he's never going to make a good ruler. But then obviously he kind of wised up, conquered Persia.
Well, it happens to a lot of people, like in your youth. Like I think normal people tend to do stupid things. But another thing is probably because he was an emperor. Did he genuinely spend a lot of time with his son, raising him?
That's the thing.
How much did he know him? But that's really, really cool. I wish there was a show about Rome that actually covered loads of people rather than just a particular period. Because Rome, the TV show that was out by HBO.
Yeah, it was Caesar. It was just Caesar.
It was just Caesar, and it was short, wasn't it?
Very short. Yeah. The first season was pretty good, but the second season was so rushed because clearly the guy wanted more time. But they turned around, the first season starts with Caesar appearing, and then him being assassinated, and the second series takes off. The kind of the blood is cooling on the Senate floors, and then it goes, okay, now get all the way to Octavian winning, and you're like, no, that's such a long amount of history. That's.
But Rome's really cool because it's as you said, so well documented that you can hear these fun tidbits of somebody doing
really weird things.
Really weird things.
Stamping on dwarfs. Right. Yeah. So next story.
Next up is Solly Boy.
Is it me?
Yeah.
This is also involving someone that we have previously very quickly spoke about on the podcast before. So 1885, the medical report for the deformities of Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man, was presented. One thing that I realised was the fact that we kind of skimmed over the Elephant Man's life, but the fact that we didn't actually talk about Proteus syndrome, which is obviously what inflicted him.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's basically the body growing asymmetrically and also out of proportion and just irregularly. There's documented only 200 cases in the world, which obviously it's an extremely rare condition, but I didn't know if you knew anything about the actual syndrome itself.
No, I didn't.
No.
So when a newborn baby is out the womb, perfectly fine. It's generally after 1 or 2 years is when it starts showing symptoms. which is really weird. The thing is, the only problem with that is the fact that there's lots of other deformities that it tends to start off looking like. The thing is that it starts off with like small little rashes and things like that until Joseph Merrick himself wasn't showing any symptoms until the second birthday, and by the age of 5 he had already started getting like proper deformities. But the thing is, like, obviously in the 19th century there was it was a lot harder to live with.
Wasn't he sick with more than that? He had something like he had a multiple diseases. But I don't know if maybe the Proteus thing maybe affected his immune system and like led to other things. As if I'm not mistaken, I read that it was like he was ill with 2 or 3 different things.
One thing that I kind of read about him was the fact that there was
it's really sad, isn't it?
It's really sad, but the thing is, also there's a couple of things that like, because one thing that. Because in the previous podcast, you mentioned the fact that he used to roll cigars, until obviously he couldn't do that anymore. But one thing that he could still do, he was still an avid writer. He loved to write, and the thing is, one thing that I read was the fact that when he was touring Europe in these freak shows, he used to write. He used to hand out basically 3-page autobiographies about his life so far. Basically, like obviously, like people would read like 3 pages of, but obviously all of this was lost along with his wealth and things like that he had gathered. Which you mentioned
it's so
before.
terrible because like he was obviously giving these out. He was trying to get people to remember him, but people are probably so dismissive.
The one thing that really bugged me was the fact that for the people that don't know about the elephant, he had these massive growths all over his face. He had walked with a limp. He could barely talk. His hands were overly large and things like that. There's a whole documentary about him. But when he gets discovered and quote saved, and basically gets taken back to the hospital by Travis, the doctor, he essentially goes and Travis kind of puts him on to these, instead of freak shows, essentially he was doing these medical examinations where people would come and observe him. The thing is, obviously, like
he wasn't getting paid for it.
No, it was like he was being looked after.
He was being looked after, but in a way it was also kind of like a prison sentence. He was living in this room in the attic. He would only see a select few people. Occasionally, to be fair, like obviously Joseph Merrick didn't
barely talk as well.
Could barely talk. Couldn't earn a living any other way. Had no shelter. Like when his manager fucked him over, he was out on the streets. Like he was gonna die if it wasn't for the doctor. To be fair, and the doctor introduced him to a few female friends of his in the High Court, didn't he? Yeah. But at the same time, the life was terrible because he was like a prop. One
thing that I noticed for that, obviously, when he was in his attic, he was actually there was a church spire that he could just about see. And he essentially, using cardboard, made a replica that they still have in the hospital, which took him like months and months and months, because obviously with his hands as well, he painstakingly put together this miniature replica made out of card of what he could see from his room. One thing that I was looking at as well was the fact that other people in the world suffering with Proteus disease and syndrome, and how it's affecting them and stuff like that. And there's this one guy that I was looking up. So far he's had like 42 operations. He's still going good. He's still alive, which is, I think he's 35 years old, 35 or 36. Yeah, because he was part of this documentary that I ended up watching, and it was really interesting because the thing is he showed very similar problems, but obviously a lot of it with modern medicine you can cut away and kind of treat. I mean, the only problem with him was his feet were still, because they couldn't really operate too much. They cut bits off, but that's really it.
Feet are really difficult to operate on.
Especially things like a lot of these growths are described as being bony. So that's the thing. Like, it's hard to walk on. Your feet basically solidify. So it's like walking on bone. Yeah. Which must be extremely painful. But the thing is, one thing that I found out was the fact that the guy actually does these beautiful wood carvings. He does what's it called? This is when I should have actually remembered what the name of the actual technique is. But basically, it's like scroll carving. So basically, he's got this saw, and he basically tilts wood and engraves it. And the thing is, he does like fantastic work, but it takes like.
What's his name? Do you know it?
His name is Brian Richards. Yeah, he said that basically, like sometimes he will just not eat because he's focusing so much on getting the detail right, because it's like takes a lot of focus. He says sometimes he's there for like 10 hours, just straight, just carving. Yeah, he's married, and he's a really nice guy. He seems like... Because the whole documentary that I watched was him following in the footsteps of Joseph Merrick. Because he's American, but he came to the UK and...
It must have been... Because Joseph Merrick's story is very, very famous.
Yeah.
It must have been very scary for him when he was younger, like knowing how that gentleman's life panned out and comparing himself perhaps in some ways.
Well, one thing that Brian Richards said was ever since he was a kid, like as soon as he was diagnosed with with Proteus syndrome, every time he went to the hospital, like when he was first diagnosed and every visit after, the observation room, where the doctors could look in, there would be like 30 people crammed into here, everyone wanting to have a look at him. It's which is just scary to think about. And the thing is,
especially such a young child.
Yeah,
not understanding why
there's so many people wanting to stare at you. Yeah, because he was talking about his schooling, and he said that obviously people used to look at him and things like that, and they used to call him the Elephant Man and stuff like that. Of course. Yeah, but the thing, he doesn't actually look too bad though, because obviously he's had 40, probably more than 42 now, but yeah, over 40 operations. But it's just it must have not been an easy life, and he said that he very, very quickly had to come to terms with that he was never going to be looked at like other people look at each other. Like if he was to walk anywhere, he knows in the back of his mind that people are looking at him. It's really sad.
I think there's a certain kind of loneliness
that
must come from being so observed.
And being
that makes sense.
Being such a
not trying to sound deep and edgy. I mean that obviously you have that stereotypical loneliness people think of oh, no one pays attention to me. But I think there comes of I almost say even crueler loneliness of no one looks past what they see initially.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean no one, I will always be looked at like this, and people will see that surface issue and won't look any deeper. And I think that must be just as lonely as being completely ignored. Because it is being completely ignored in its own way. It's
like being in a glass case wherever you go. Like you can't really interact with people because they're not really looking at you as another person.
And even if some people are, it's very difficult when you spend your whole life being interacted with like that to allow yourself to believe that someone isn't looking at you through that glass, if you will, through that fish tank. So I think that would be horribly lonely.
For anyone that wants to watch the documentary, it was called Meet the Elephant Man, and the whole thing about it was the fact that for the first time in a while they actually were allowed to observe and examine the actual skeleton of Joseph Merrick. And one thing that they were doing was trying to figure out with prosthetics and things like that, how he would talk and walk, and basically try and recreate him.
Okay.
So they had actors in wearing all this
prosthetics.
Yeah, prosthetics to try and simulate. Because one thing.
Because there are films, but they're not correct. No. It looks more it doesn't look right.
But even using CGI programs of how he'd walk and things like that. But alongside this is Brian Richards
talking about his experience.
We'll put a link in the description below.
Yeah. Really, really interesting documentary.
Thank you so much, Tom.
That's a great story.
So,
who's next?
I think it's Jonah.
Oh God, it's going to be something of a miserable middle now.
Yeah, now who's the Buffy? I'm joking.
No, I bet Jonah's going to be...
Oh, is it all depressing?
Wait, we had a good start. Commodus stomping on people.
We had the worst time in Roman history, followed by
the best time, followed immediately by the worst time,
followed by the really sad story again.
And I've got 17th of March 2000, 530 members of a religious movement in Uganda were burned alive. This group was called the Movement for the Restoration of the Ten Commandments of God. It's founded in the late 1980s by, I'm going to be awful with these names, Credonia Morindi.
I've heard about this.
Who was a brewer of banana beer, and Joseph Kibwetiri, who was a politician, who both claimed to have visions of the Virgin Mary, so it was a Catholic breakaway. The group, obviously, as a lot of these religious breakaway groups, had some weird ideas, so they had a very strict adherence to the Ten Commandments, which led to the fact that not many people talk to each other, because the 9th Ten Commandment is thou shalt not bear false witness. So in order to avoid the chance of doing that, they wouldn't talk, so they communicated a lot in sign language instead. They fasted regularly, and there was no sex and no soap. Don't know why.
This cult is absolutely insane. It's like one of the really,
To be fair,
really famous
I
ones.
can see why the no soap rule would lead to the no sex rule.
That's a good point. And they had what I guess we call like a millenarian or an apocalyptic philosophy. They kind of saw themselves as like a Noah's Ark of purity amongst lots of sinfulness, which in Uganda at the time, like there was a lot of going on, which I guess you called social trauma. So you had the end of Idi Amin's dictatorship. You had the Ugandan Bush War. You had the AIDS crisis. And you had the Catholic Church doing what it does best, which is being embroiled in scandal. But the problem is that obviously this apocalyptic philosophy they then tied into the Y2K hype. So they were like 1st of January 2000, second coming. Didn't come around. They're like, sorry guys, we got it wrong. 17th of March 2000, they held a big party.
Finally had sex.
Possibly.
No.
I think they read something like they barbecued like 3 cows and drank a lot of fizzy drink.
Sorry, so was that Dad?
Can I
Some fizzy pop? Did the Ugandans get a hold of some fizzy pop?
Can I point out, Joe? Yeah, you were right. Idi Amin was usurped from power in 1979. But what I just learned, which I did know, the man died in 2003.
Yeah.
I thought he died
immediately
after his reign ended, but no, he died in Saudi Arabia in 2003.
Yeah.
Which I just think it's insane.
But yeah, and then after the party where they ate a lot of cow and drank a lot of pop, they 530 people went into a building and then the doors and windows were barred and the building caught fire.
How did it catch fire?
People set fire to it.
Oh.
Well, did the members of the sect?
A lot of the leaders were believed to have died in the fire. One of them who didn't, I believe, a guy called Dominic Katari Babo, was seen a few days earlier buying 50 litres of sulfuric acid, which might have led to a fiery explosion. But so those little people who died but in the 3 weeks afterwards, the police raided all these because the group had like several kind of compounds and sites across southern Uganda, and the police raided these in the following 3 weeks and found more dead. So they found, so there was I think it was the Kanungu compound. They found 6 dead sealed in a latrine. In a place called Bahangi, they found 153 dead. At Dominic Katari Babo's farm in Ragazi, they found another 155 dead. And then a farm owned by someone called Joseph Nimurinda, they found another 81 dead, believed to have been poisoned and stabbed. But,
I mean, was this quote cult doing anything wrong to other people, or were they just?
There was some accusation. No, they were. It was
obviously it sounds like a malicious attack, but like
no,
what?
It was Jonestown. It was a Jonestown.
Oh, okay.
The cult leadership killed members of the cult.
Okay. Because I was thinking, because
it was a standard. If I'm not mistaken, I briefly remember something about this. I think they did the thing along the lines of like you commit your whole life to this. All of your worldly possessions go towards the.
They ran farms. There were some accusations of kidnapping and child labour.
Yeah, definitely.
Which got the cult shut down, but then the Ugandan government allowed it to come back. Like one of the high up members was like a theology PhD from America. They had a lot of kind of defrocked priests and Catholic priests and nuns who were in Uganda. They ran farms and compounds across southern Uganda, but obviously they had some weird philosophies regarding the Ten Commandments. But the problem was, they called the apocalypse. The apocalypse didn't happen, so they made it happen.
Yeah,
and
which is often the danger. But the thing is also that it's now so thoroughly in the public lexicon that you can't really say anything.
Yeah, it's like Jonestown was the kind of the defining one. So these are called Jonestown events.
Yeah, it's the idea of, and it also comes from the fact that the Jonestown cult was misattributed as a cult, rather than what it really was, and what all of these are is
technically a sect. Yeah,
a sect is actually the anti, like say for example, a cult would be Jehovah's Witness, would be a cult. Jonestown, the People's Temple, this
movement for the restoration of Ten Commandments.
would be a sect, which is who are in opposition of widestream society, often seal themselves away.
Wasn't talking about the trauma? It wasn't even the only one in Uganda. There were several.
Yeah.
There was one called the People's Army of God, which ended up fighting against one of the governments in Uganda in the 90s.
Yeah, and these mass suicides. They happen a lot when people predict the end of the world. It's always dangerous. Not a lot of people talk about this, but you know which cult actually predicted the end of the world and it didn't happen? The Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah.
I didn't know they predicted the end of the world.
Yeah, they predicted. Jehovah's Witnesses believed that they said, I think it was that there's 440,000 would be saved.
Same as Calvinists.
Yeah, from planet Earth. That's all that would be saved. The problem is there's more than 440. So they've exceeded those numbers. They did predict the end of the world, maybe twice. I know once for sure.
Once for sure.
No, they definitely. I think it was around 2000 something. They predicted the end of the world. But
was that the one that was
21st of December, 2012.
But yeah, so the thing is, sects and cults are different entities, but it's about how they interact with society. Cults will actually go out and actively encourage and solicit people. Not Jehovah's Witness. Sects will retreat from society.
I think I'd join if they just did that. Knock, just open the door. Jehovah's Witness!
You're like, bam, I'm in.
They don't even do that anymore. They're very low-key with their branding.
Yeah, well, I mean, I put enough kebabs through the letterbox.
Because isn't
They
it
do
like
where
they
you
don't...
can't see the branding.
No, don't they not say that they're Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah, they'll come and they'll obviously chat Bible stuff with you. But and it does, even their website is just jw.org.
Yeah.
So it's not until you go to their website, unless you kind of twig from the acronym, or the initials rather, are these, Jehovah's Witnesses.
But they do go
the old foot in the doors of old.
Yeah, they do go for the whole all your worldly assets belong to the church. So again, it's very, very. People always talk about why do people join cults and sects and it takes so long to get out, and you have to remember that these things are drip fed in, piece by piece to you, and before you know it.
You're in too deep.
It's like quicksand. You're in too deep. You can't get out. I think people should be less.
So Church of Scientology.
For example, People's Temple, Jonestown, if you looked at them at the start, they were a mixed race congregation.
Good intentions.
Mixed race in the 60s. Do you know what I'm saying?
In California.
Yeah, but still.
I think
mixed race congregation.
People wouldn't have pointed at that group and been like, those are the ones that are going to go and kill themselves.
Drink the Kool-Aid, literally. Yeah. They
there
were
so
mixed,
many
and they were
groups
and they building a community united.
Yeah.
Against together, and it's crazy how twisted it can get and disconnected it can get from reality. But so Val.
So that
something
leaves...
more light-hearted.
That leaves me. My story. Yeah, I think my story is relatively light-hearted. So in 2014, Chandelier by Sia came out, and I found it an interesting story to talk about because it's not necessarily a historical event, but it's I kind of wanted to have a little chat about what you think about.
Is this the singer who never never see his face?
Yeah. She's the singer.
She's got the really big fringe.
She
and
wears
the bows
the really big fringe.
Who uses that little girl with Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah. So.
So what?
She had
them doing ballet in a cage.
She had the immense pleasure of working with Shia LaBeouf. Her name's Sia, and she is a songwriter and singer, and she's 43 years old.
Not to be confused with Shia, which is a subsect of Islam.
People are like,
who also works
with
Shia LaBeouf.
The Ayatollah dancing in a cage with Shia LaBeouf. Love it.
So I wanted to talk about Chandelier because Chandelier is one of the biggest songs of the 2010s.
I don't even know it. I honestly don't even know it. Like you're saying Chandelier.
It's the one that's like, I wanna swing from the chandelier. That one. From the chandelier. Yeah.
Is this from a musical? I want to swing from the chandelier.
I want to live like tomorrow doesn't exist.
I'm sorry, I honestly can't put a tune to it.
Have you seen the music video for Elastic Heart where a little girl is fighting with Shia LaBeouf in a cage?
No.
I can't believe you missed that. It's a really good music video. So this song was really big, one of the biggest hits in 2010. But up until this was Sia's biggest hit globally. So this song was in top 5 in 20 countries, including France, Italy, Holland, Norway, Austria, and New Zealand. It got 4 nominations for a Grammy. It was the Song of the Year, Record of the Year, Best Pop Solo Performance, and Best Music Video. It was viewed 2 billion times on YouTube, probably even more now. And the music video features Maddie Ziegler, a young dancer that Sia actually first saw whilst watching Dance Moms. And in this video, Maddie does an interpretive dance. It was really, really massive. Like, this song had loads of people were doing covers on like various talent shows, which is how you know a pop song's really like rooted itself in when people are coming in to do auditions in front of Simon Cowell and singing this song. It's a really good song for like.
Is this a song you sung as well? From the chandelier.
From the chandelier. And I mean, when you're
it just comes to the judge's faces like all sneering at you, like stop.
No, but and in the music, this was the first time that Sia worked with Maddie Ziegler. I think at the time she was something like 13. She was really, really young, and basically they choreographed this, and the whole music video for this is one long shot through an apartment where Maddie is basically dancing to the song, and she's wearing the signature wig that Sia is known for. So Sia's whole branding is that you don't actually know what she looks like. She wears like this big wig that covers her face, and the reason for that is that she actually is a songwriter first and singer second. When she first started thinking about singing and doing it properly, she kind of got pushed into the limelight because of Titanium. Do you remember the song with David Guetta, I want to say?
I think so,
yes.
I'm going to point out that I'm terrified of this conversation.
You don't know Titanium?
No, I mean, I generally feel like you guys are all like here, like nodding. I feel like I'm in the woods running around in just tidy whities, sweating. I don't know any of this. I feel like... I feel like it's like I know I picked up a Chinese bootleg game and I'm like, okay, this, and it takes me to the options, and I click the same thing again. It's not the options. I don't know any of this.
The thing is, like you would have heard songs sung by Sia if you like. You would probably recognise them, or you would recognise songs that she's written, because she wrote songs for Beyonce, Britney Spears, Katy Perry, Rihanna. Loads of songs for Rihanna. In fact, Chandelier...
I was going to say, if it wasn't Bob Dylan or Jimi Hendrix, James still won't know who
I'm
that
saying
is.
these are big pop star names that you would have heard whether or not you wanted to or not. Like, it would have been playing on like the radio station that is incessantly playing at work. So when she first started singing, she came out on Titanium, which is obviously a house pop track, and she was really, really embarrassed because of the reception that it got. People didn't take her seriously. Like, she'd been doing all this work as like a songwriter, and she was really embarrassed. And so when she finally...
You love that song.
Yeah, I know, but she like, people were asking if she was going to appear on more like house pop tracks, and she just didn't see herself as that kind of person. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that kind of music if that's where your passion lies. She kind of did it like on a whim because she wrote a lot of songs for people, and so when she kind of finally did it on her own terms, she decided she was going to don this wig, which wasn't going to show her face, which was going to let her basically avoid a lot of the scrutiny that the media gives you for the way that you look, especially considering that she is somebody who struggles with bipolar. When she started performing, the first time she was performing, she was 17 years old. She started performing in a jazz bar, and she was really nervous, and so she had a glass of wine. And then since the age of 17 up until she was an alcoholic from the age of 17 up until 30. I mean, as I said, she wrote really, really famous songs. One of them is like, Diamonds. You're beautiful like diamonds.
Unfortunately,
in the sky.
She wrote that.
Yeah, which makes me angry.
Diamonds don't shine.
Diamonds don't shine, they refract.
Yeah, they refract.
Which is the
to
reason
shine,
why
it needs to have a sea of the localized electron to absorb and re-emit light energy. That's why metals shine.
Sia is on the list.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to know because I kept shouting off because it's Rihanna that does one.
Yeah.
I kept shouting at Rihanna, but it was Sia that wrote that one.
It's Sia that wrote that one.
Ugh.
The thing is that
I'll give Shia LaBeouf the weaponry. He will fight back.
He's
Round
in a
two.
circle wrestler to death.
the thing is, if you listen to Chandelier now, you would probably like, because I was thinking about. I only found out today that like she wrote I only found out today that Sia also wrote Diamonds, and now that I'm listening to Chandelier again, I can hear a lot of the like affectations with which Rihanna sings in Sia's voice. Those like kind of like a reggae backs and forth.
I'm here. So I just feel like everyone's looking at you blankly while I'm there nodding along.
The interesting, she's kind of like started doing her career on her own terms, and she's different from other artists in the pop industry because she kind of like she has her like marketing thing, and she doesn't kind of go out and like have to do like the showbiz. And so the interesting thing that she does differently is that she does something called an urban split, which sounds like a bad dessert that like a dessert that falls on the ground.
Yeah, it's a mixture of
or some kind of gangland maiming, like a step up from a Chelsea grin is the urban split.
No, the urban split is
right. I'm gonna put this credit card in your gooch and I'm gonna kick it.
Oh right, I was thinking it's more like tarmac and bullet casings.
Urban split. So it's a fancy word for a curb stomp, isn't it?
What it actually means is that she gets 50% of the publishing profits on every song, which is crazy because the majority of people who write songs, they do what's called a pop split, where everybody gets an equal share. So it's the profits are equally shared among songwriters and producers. And when a producer like confronted her about this and was like, "Why should I give you 50% of the profit?" She was like, "I shouldn't have to pay for the fact that it takes two people to do your job." And he was like, because obviously, like, once she's written a song, she shouldn't have to lose money because he's having to hire more people. That's her perspective. And he said to her, he was like, well, you write a song in 20 minutes and then I have to produce it for 2 to 3 weeks. And she was like, well, it took me 12 years to write a song in 20 minutes. She's like really, really, she's been recognized by loads of people in the industry as being incredibly talented at writing songs quickly and writing pop songs that are going to be hits, which is why a lot of the songs that she wrote for these artists were really, really big.
What kind of producer thinks of that as an argument? It's like Prince, you wrote When Doves Cry in a night, so that should be cheaper.
Yeah.
To be fair, there's a story about music producing, writing music, which I know, which is actually linking into this, which is where...
Why did you seem so surprised?
No, because I actually know something. It's about Stalin. Don't look so disappointed, Val. It's funny. Essentially, Stalin wants to have, I can't remember, a particular song written, like the Soviet anthem, and these two guys went into the room.
It's the USSR anthem, the Soviet anthem that they had to change the lyrics to. And two guys went into... I mean, do you tell the story?
No, you tell it about it.
So, two guys were invited to rewrite a particular verse in the Russian, in the Soviet anthem, and Stalin basically gave them their brief, and he was like, "This is what needs to be done." And one of the guys was thinking like, "Well, this is like barely going to take 3 minutes," and the guy next to him goes, "Yeah, we're going to need 3 hours to do this." We're going to need 3 hours to do this. But they didn't communicate that to one another. So the guy that thought it was going to take 3 hours turned to Stalin and said, it's going to take 3 hours. And Stalin was like, okay, no problem.
Go into the room.
Yeah, there's room next door. Let us know if you need any help, any stuff you want us to bring. And so they went into the room and the two guys look at each other and the other guy goes, why did you say 3 hours? This is like barely 3 minutes work. Like, let's just rework it. This, and it's perfect. And then they just sat there like twiddling their thumbs for basically 3 hours. Then the time was up, and then they came out, and they were waiting for Stalin to come back to them, and they presented the lyrics to him. He looked over them. He like corrected some things here and there, like said, "Can we change this for this?" Blah blah blah, and he seemed overall really really happy with it. And then he was like, "Thank you very much, gentlemen, for doing this for me. But it'd be great if could have been done quicker, in 10 minutes next time." Because clearly they were listening into the room.
They bugged the room. So he was basically like, "Oh yeah, good job. Like you could have done, do it in 10 minutes next time. Don't waste my time." And the two guys were like,
yeah,
yeah, like
classic Stalin story.
Thanks for you think I don't record you?
I've got a fun story like finishing up with Sia. So Sia's popularity is because of Chandelier became really, really big. At one point, she was asked to perform live on SNL, which is a really big deal. And it just so happened that on that episode of SNL, Trump was also hosting. And so
hosting?
Yeah.
This is before he was doing any presidential stuff.
So Trump and Ivanka came up to Sia, and Ivanka already had the camera out, and Trump was like, "I would really love if you let us take this picture." Like, I'm gonna stop trying to do his voice because it was terrible.
I mean, I to be honest, the actual face was good.
The face was good.
Yeah.
Like, so he asked Sia if he could take a picture, and she was like, she was frozen still because she was like, I do not fucking want to take a picture with Trump. And so she didn't know what to do. Like, when somebody you don't like asks you to do something for them and you don't want to offend them, like, it's a bit of an awkward situation.
She bit him.
So she turned to him and she was like...
That's what I do.
She was like, Mr. Trump, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a lot of Mexican fans and fans from the LGBTQ community, and I don't think it would read well. And he looked at her for a moment, and then he nodded and didn't get offended at it by it in the slightest, because he kind of regarded her he was like, oh, okay, this is your brand. That's fine. That's okay.
It's
no
business.
Worries.
It's business.
Yeah. He was like, no worries. And then Sia was so stressed out by the incident that she went to her dressing room and had massive diarrhea.
Oh.
And that's it.
Wait. She had massive diarrhea on today? No, Chandelier was released. Sorry. Sorry, it's just the way it was just the way you kind of went. And that's the date. That's what she did.
17th of March.
She has massive diarrhea after meeting with Donald Trump. Sorry, I forgot you said that the Chandelier was released today.
So that was my story for today in history.
See, and when you said that there was a chandelier released, I thought there was an accident.
Going on to Famous Facts. Famous Facts is a segment where I pick out people who were born on today's date, which is the 17th of March. And these people are special, not only because they get to be featured on the Late Shift, but because they're also popular. And in this case...
Unlike the Late Shift.
Unlike the Late Shift, exactly. In this case, I've got a few people for you that I think you will all know. I've kind of Western mix of entertainers and actors. So in this game, I give you some facts I found from these people's biographies and ask you to match the people with the facts. Therefore, famous facts. So today on our roster, we've got 1473, James IV, King of Scotland from 1488 to 1513. Entertainer indeed. Yeah. We've got 1951, Kurt Russell, American actor. I'm sure you know him very well. The Thing, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Escape from New York.
Tron.
We've got Grimes.
From Legacy.
Well, that was Jeff Bridges.
What are you talking about? It's not
No, it's because in the second Tron movie when they CGI'd Jeff Bridges young, he looks like Kurt Russell.
1988, we've got Grimes, who is a Canadian singer, songwriter, record producer, and visual artist. Her actual name is Claire Elise Boucher, but I'll be calling her Grimes.
We will all know this person. Remember that.
She is currently Elon Musk's girlfriend. In 1990...
I got off the Musk wagon at the flamethrower thing, so I ain't been keeping up with him.
1990, we've got Hosier. We all know Hosier? Yes?
Yep.
Woohoo! And we've got 1992, John Boyega. By the way, Hosier is an Irish musician, singer and songwriter. And John Boyega is an English actor famous for playing Finn in...
An all-round nice chap.
Very nice chap. I really enjoyed looking him up. It made me happy. We've got our people, and here are our facts. Fact number 1, this person, as well as being very distinguished in their field, also holds a pilot license.
A pilot's license?
A pilot's license, okay. Yes. Is it the king that was reigning before planes were invented? Or will we be reasonable and choose one of the actors or singers?
Kurt Russell.
Fuck.
Kurt Russell.
You can also say Kurt Russell.
You can also say Kurt Russell.
It just seems like a Kurt Russell thing to do.
Yeah, because
I'm just. It's that generation of actors. Yeah, they've all got pilot licenses. Yeah. Him, Harrison Ford.
Yeah, Kurt Russell. I'm going to Kurt Russell. He plays.
And I'm pretty sure Kurt Russell flew his own
Sharon
helicopter
Stone.
away from the Asian person exploding in Big Trouble in Little China. No, it did not happen. It did not happen.
Next fact.
Yeah, we're all going on Kurt Russell, so let's all Canton boys wrong together if we're going down.
Hanging with you, Lou.
Oh,
okay,
fuck this.
Okay,
let's take him down.
Okay.
If we get more points than collectively, we still win.
Fact number 2. This person is famous for a signature look, which is characterised by a chain that they wore around their waist.
Oh, it's James IV.
I fucking hate you guys.
No,
yeah, I knew that one.
Yeah. If you said thong, I would have said Grimes, but, or James IV still actually.
Okay. Fact number 3. So this person travelled across Norway and the Netherlands with a choir.
The choir? Well, it's one of the music types, isn't it?
So John Boyega was lost.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah,
he got on the wrong bus, so just felt like, well, I'm rolling with it.
Hey guys.
Is it the singer types, or is it the person that we know has a lot of money, like Grimes?
Well,
Grimes is a singer.
What does she sing?
Grime.
I'm going to go with Hosier.
You know...
He's a vocalist.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I know I am swimming in Jonah's wake. Hosier. It just seems like a kind of Irishy songwritery thing to do.
What, take a choir?
Take a choir up Norway. What's that? Take a choir up
You're
Norway.
Irish.
I can't do an Irish accent.
You're a disgrace. On St. Patrick's Day. Fuck it, I'm going Grimes. I'm changing.
Okay, this person has a speech impediment that they don't want to correct.
Is it That also seems like a Hosier thing.
Grimes.
John Boyega.
James, he's from the East End. It's not an impediment.
That's my opinion. It's an impediment.
And our last fact is that this person owns a production company. Jonah, the only one you've got left
Boyega.
is Boyega.
I have Grimes.
I've got Boyega.
Cool. Okay, so with fact number 1, it is in fact Kurt Russell.
Whoa! We knew it right together. And Jonah even didn't want to link hands.
Because we're all in this together.
Well, if this gets in. If that gets in.
Do you know who's editing?
Oh, shite the bed.
Shite the bed.
Now, there's the thing about spoilers. If you just heard that, Jonah lost. Because there's some salt.
Okay, so my fun fact about Kurt Russell, because, you know, I like to give you a little extra.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell has a cool name, no?
Yeah.
His middle name is Vogel.
Yeah.
Vogel.
It's fucking awful middle name.
Alright, so the next one is James IV, no?
Yes, the next one is James IV. James IV wore the chain around his waist because he was wearing it in penance for his father's death, which he blamed on himself because he witnessed it.
It wasn't tied his monstrous muffin top.
Well, his
Keep
monstrous
it
muffin
contained
top.
padlock.
His muffin top. His muffin
Did it
top.
actually deform him, though?
It was horribly painful. It was really heavy.
Yeah.
And
It kept
his
that
marriage
fupa
to Margaret, she had linked Scotland and England, which meant that when Elizabeth I died without any heirs, James's grandson succeeded to the English throne as James I. So our third fact is that this person travelled across Norway and the Netherlands with a choir.
This is the make or break bit.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm afraid that it was Hosier.
Okay, that's right.
I said it was a Hosier thing to do, didn't I?
His favourite book is 1984.
Of course it is. I bet he likes the taste of mocha. He seems like the kind of person, he likes the feel of moccasins on his bare feet. I bet you that's
They
true.
don't feel bad.
I don't
They designed
like
them to feel
them.
good. You don't have
wear
to wear
socks
them.
with shoes, you animals. Unless it's flip-flops, then.
Aren't they based
But
off
yeah, but
Native
they're not
American
shoes, then,
shoes?
flip-flops.
Okay, fine, have a go at me. Just because we have
No,
different tastes in
I'm
fashion.
agreeing.
I
I'm just.
You know, how many times have I got...
I'm defending you angrily.
What's the hate at?
How many times have I got to smell some hipster's foot
I don't-
when I'm in public?
James, you
That's
don't.
moccasins.
You're
Not
rarely in
many
public, and you're not around hipsters.
Yeah, it's true. You'd have to.
You're not
actually-
hip enough to go to the places that they.
They
tend
come to me.
What?
I don't understand why you're giving Andrew so much hate for liking 1984. It's a good book,
It's a good book.
and it
This is a very
matches-
Hosier thing to do.
It's a
you know what I'm
Hosier
saying?
thing to do.
Like going on
very
a
on
choir.
brand.
I'm just saying the fact I know nothing about Hosier other than like that one song
He
and his
went
general
to-
look, and I'm like, yeah, he went on choir. That's it. It's a Hosier thing to do.
When the Pope visited
He didn't go.
Ireland, he actually performed in solidarity with the victims of
Yeah.
abuse from the Catholic Church.
By stinking a chastity belt on the Pope and not telling him where the key is. So to this day, Pope Benedict's locked in and he's frantic. He's like, well, if you swore off sex, so you shouldn't care. And he's like, oh, you care.
I mean, I'm happy it contains my muffin tops, but
He was in the choir when he was in college. He went to Trinity College, which is a famous musical college. And he dropped out because he wanted to record some demos for the music label. Because he was doing some demos. Like, it wasn't a big deal. When Take Me to Church took off, it literally was like overnight success type thing.
He wouldn't.
He didn't have an album.
He had
so
already.
It's only this year that he's actually released a full album. It's been about a month since
No,
it's been out, I
you're
think.
forgetting. He did make a load of money because he wrote the Go Compare songs first. So.
I would love that to be true. Like, that he's just a sellout in that sense.
Yeah, but he didn't tell anyone. He's like,
what do you mean an album?
no, there's a lot of Go Compare albums.
Oh, God, yeah, but they all sing the.
Can you not imagine
the same song?
Can
It'd
you
be
not imagine?
infuriating.
It's Hosier when he's like old, like say True Detective season 3 style, and he's drinking. He's got he's getting memory problems like my old Wayne, and he's drinking, and you see like lightning flash, and it's like the Go Compare man silhouette, and he's just there like, no, I'm a legitimate artist kind of thing, and he's haunted by the time he's sold out to Go Compare.
No. Imagine when Hosea dies, right, and he's in his coffin, an open casket, and then the Go Compare opera singer, not dressed up, just him as himself, goes up to the body, just spits on it.
I prefer the idea. Hosier's funeral.
So you've done this.
Hosier's funeral. He's being lowered into the ground. You turn around, and far off in the graveyard with the umbrella, you can see the Go Compare man, like sunglasses on, you know, the hat, and he just like, he nods, and then he gets into a black car and drives off, and you'd be like, yeah.
Cool. So, yes, it was Hosier, Sorry Boy, which means that you are 1 point behind.
And you're not coming back.
Maybe not. Maybe.
If you do come back, Jonah wins. See what I'm saying?
If I come back, then it's a
because Jonah.
draw.
No, because the only thing we disagree on is the next two orderings.
Yeah.
And if obviously if I'm wrong about one, with John Boyega, say,
Oh yeah.
you get one more point, but that means Jonah gets a full house.
Yeah.
So you have to lose for us to win.
Okay. So the next fact is that this person has a speech impediment that they don't want to correct. That person is Grimes.
The East End isn't a speech impediment.
Yeah, so Jonah...
Hasn't
Wait,
been since the 1890s.
I forgot that's what you were banking this on. You were there, trying to build, rally the forces. So well, you need to go down and otherwise you go down with the shit. The East End is a speech impediment.
Poor Saul, who's there in the Führerbunker, and then he realises his glorious leader is banking on an imaginary division. They're there waiting for Steiner, and then you remember, oh no, Steiner's dead. The SS aren't here.
The combined effort of me and you couldn't beat Jonah. Another full house.
As I said, Grimes has a speech impediment. She's got a lisp, but she actually finds it really cute. There's a really obnoxious fact about her. So as I said, she's Elon Musk's girlfriend. That's not the fact. The fact is that...
Elon Musk.
She finds her own lisp cute.
Yeah.
She just goes, hey, sausage. That's pretty cute of me. This is how I say sausage.
She wants to change her name from Claire. Her name's Claire Lise Boucher. She wants to change her name from Claire to
Vogel.
To
Elon Musk.
To an italic C, which is the symbol for speed of light.
What a fucking loser. Who is this woman?
Is this not an Elon Musk girlfriend thing to do?
What would her name be?
C.
Speed
C.
of light.
Yeah,
You don't have
it
to
would
say
be.
it.
Yeah,
Speed of
it was
light.
what's your name? I'm Speed of Light. I'm a superhero.
Do you remember
My list is cute.
My list is really cute. I have a massive speech impediment. Elon, save me.
No, guys, do you remember if
SpaceX.
like I know we don't want to bring up dead memes, but it would literally like, if you want to speak to her, you have to announce the C like the E meme, like C. It needs to be really big and bold.
Oh.
Okay.
I think I like Jonah's more that it's so fast she has no first name because it's just too quick. You can't read it fast enough. So
Yeah, you
you
have
just,
to ignore her.
no, it's too slow. You have to just go. You have to
Just
go.
go straight to a
How do you
seven.
write it down?
Pardon? You just line.
No, you do the symbol.
You do the symbol, yeah.
You just do a single flash.
Someone's calling me again.
Nah,
Someone's trying to get their head
nice
towards
try,
the right.
Jonah. I got arrested for that last time.
Single flash. Which means John Boyega let me down by not having a speech
John
impediment.
Boyega actually didn't let Peckham down because he has a production company. He actually produced Pacific Rim Uprising.
If I didn't deviate, I would have just drawn with Jonah. But
Well, if I didn't deviate,
nothing,
we would have drawn with Jonah. That's the point. He's
Yeah.
just he's sitting there. He's coasting to victory every time. We have to take him down.
So in 2012, John met J.J. Abrams for the first time. They met in a TV office when J.J. and Tom Cruise were leaving a meeting for a TV show that didn't happen. And J.J. stopped John Boyega and he was like, looking at him, and he was like, I'm going to get you a job in one of my new projects. He said that and just walked away, and John Boyega thought that he was fucking weird. But actually he did get him a job. He got him his first role on Attack of the Block.
Attack the Block. Yeah.
Attack the Block. I haven't seen that, sorry.
I wish that he also said he was like, I'm going to get you a part. Nick Frost. He walks off.
Get Nick Frost on the phone. Could you, wait.
He was like, what were you talking about, Nick Frost?
Nick Frost is coming.
He just winks at him.
Okay, I've got another adorable fact about him. He took Harrison Ford out for a meal because Harrison Ford took him out for a meal first. And Harrison Ford said he didn't want to go to any of the glitzy bars. So he took him to a Nigerian restaurant in Peckham called the 805 where Harrison Ford and him ate with their hands. I was reading loads of because to do research for the segment I have to do loads of little interview pieces. And somebody asked him oh, what was your reaction when you first got in your costume? It was a person who was genuinely asking him that seriously. And very seriously looking back at them, he was like, I really liked how my ass looked in the Stormtrooper outfit. And
So-
with that was Famous Facts, Jonah. Congratulations, your black belt is still firmly around your waist, like James the Fourth.
I just want you to know that the night is darkest before the dawn, Jonah. You understand? You are Falcone. And we're going to come in and we're going to clean up this city one day. You're gonna go down. It might not be us. It might be when we have to expand and get another person to take you down in the relationship. But someone, I want you to know this somewhere, is going to dethrone you.
Oh, I thought when you were talking about the darkness before the dawn, I thought you were just talking about, the dark pit of ignorance you're in.
Not in ignorance. I'm aware that I may not be able to beat you. But someone
No,
will
you just
one day.
don't know things. I thought the whole the door metaphor was you're going to start knowing things.
You're just lucky and you know it, or you're a cheater. One of the two.
All right. Lucky this many times.
Yeah.
Sometimes in a row.
Constantly.
I was born ready. We are here once again to the Creepypasta section. Ooh. Well, I guess every other week now, which, you know... And do you know what? It's actually kind of...
It's exactly the same as it was before, so we're complaining about. We used to release episodes every 2 weeks, so it's exactly the same. Nothing's changed.
I was going to say that it's helped my sanity, but no, it hasn't. I'm sorry.
Oh, guys, I've read the title of this one. I'm sorry. I actually know this one. It says, I thought Kurt Russell was Jeff Bridges.
I wrote this one.
Yeah.
The man beneath the
I watched the
mask.
whole of Death Race and it turned out it was Kurt Russell.
No. I have a little treat for you guys, if you want.
Okay.
If we want.
Yeah.
I want a forceful treat.
I mean, it doesn't need to go in.
What's that mean? What's a forceful treat? Like what was
something you want, but you don't get to eat at your own pace.
It's like when you're a workaholic and your boyfriend buys you like a holiday and he's like, go on holiday, I've sorted everything out. Forceful treat.
And you're like, I can't. Because
I
run the reactor. I'm in prison. Go on holiday, here's 2 tickets to Barbados.
Okay guys, we're back once again for Creepypastas. For the people that don't know what Creepypasta is, little meme, short horror stories. I generally go for the shorter ones because the long ones, I just can't. I just can't do it. I can't do it to myself. I've tried. Sometimes
I don't blame you. They're really.
I've honestly done it where I've gotten like halfway through one and I've scrolled down and just realised that there's so much more. Right. So this one is called "Who's the Child That I Kissed Last Night?"
That's a bad start.
The child? Oh, God. My name is Father Patrick Brennan.
And where's the little fucking blabbermouth?
The problem with Blind Man's Butt, I don't know who I have to shut up afterwards.
In all fairness. Okay, the title...
Glory hole, more like lawsuit hole.
The title isn't what it seems, obviously, but it definitely got my attention when I saw it. I was like, I have to read this one. And it does it like diary entries, which is even better. So
it is a priest.
So February 28th, 2019, 10 p.m. I got home from the office, pulling the apple pie that I bought from Magdo. My nephew, son of my brother, welcomed me with a sweet hug. I kissed his cheek, give him his apple pie, and asked him how his day went. He told me that it was good, and he ate cake for dinner.
What?
Spoiled little shit.
And he gets apple pie? Fuck off. Rip it out of that child's hands.
Diabetes, mate.
I just love the fact that, like, my nephew, son of my brother. Like,
can I ask you, does that information become relevant later? Is it like, but it was actually, my nephew is the son of my sister who I kissed? Or is it just completely superfluous?
February 28th, 2019, 11 p.m.
Is he only keeping track of his interactions with his nephew? He's got a diary, literally. For when
this is what you would call an orgy of evidence in a trial. You wrote a diary exclusively about your interactions with your nephew. He's like, that's a perfectly normal uncle thing to do. Bullshit.
No. Okay, I went to my room. Dealing with silence alone is total shit. I turned the TV and then put the volume on max.
That's so the neighbours couldn't hear the screams.
Whole house is mine since my brother, his wife and son is on a 5-day vacation.
This is a story of abuse. It's like, your parents are out, I turned the TV on, no one's going to hear you, I've lured him in with an apple pie. Oh my jeez.
Okay, March 1st, 2019. 12.
Wait, is a month's going by?
No, because it was February the 28th. It's now March the 1st, so it's been 2 hours.
Is it going to catch up to the 17th? Are we going to... Is he writing the story, so to speak?
No, it's literally all on pretty much the same day. He did not need to do timestamps. Someone is knocking at the door. For someone who's already asleep, I am pissed off.
What a weird way to say the knocking woke me up.
As I opened the door, my brother, his wife, and son stood there, silent. I didn't bother to ask what happened.
For God's sakes, why?
I looked at him and I just went, interrupted my hunt.
So I didn't bother to ask to what happened to their supposed out of town trip since I'm too sleepy.
Oh my word.
I say nothing.
No, that is good writing because he's writing as if he was sleep deprived.
Yeah.
So he's like, Marcus, right. Gestures in.
Wait. So there's a knock at the door. The door opens. He just looks at them, pulls out his diary and starts writing. March the 1st, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, got some time right, and then he's like, beep, boop, boop, and just passes out.
Very...
How much tramadol did you take?
I say nothing, then head to my room. March the 1st, 2019, 10 a.m. Everyone is up. Meal is ready. We eat together while watching SpongeBob SquarePants. No one utter a single word.
Is that a command?
No.
He's paying off the parents. It's confirmed.
They're putting like breakfast on the table.
March.
No one says a fucking thing.
Yeah, he puts down like the eggs, the bacon, the like $2,000 payoff, like next to each of them. No one
Sits down with a gun next to his plate.
March the 1st, 2019, 10:30 a.m.
Oh my word.
I am a bit full. 10:45.
It's running late and I'm about to take a bath
Stop writing your diary then.
when I suddenly receive a message from my brother asking if Hal's home. Puzzled, I reply, "It's good. Why? We just ate breakfast. Lol."
What a lovely sentence though. It's like, I'm running late. The bath is non-negotiable though. Like, the bath's still happening. Like, I'm having that bath.
Like, showers are quicker for a reason.
He's
Just have a
like,
shower.
I've already run it. I'm just gonna dip in and out, get out, just fuck the planet.
I love that, like...
If the bath is the right kind of angle, you can dive in head first and just...
Slip one big soapy slip and then get out the other
Yeah,
side.
the French love their swimming, don't they?
Like, okay, it felt
I
weird.
agree with Val, I think this person is French.
Yeah.
It felt weird, but I don't have time to ask. Now we're just mocking someone who just can't write English properly. And
No,
bad.
every-
Well,
it's
we
equal
are
opportunity
English,
mocking.
it's what we do.
We
True.
don't learn anyone else's language, then mock them when they can't speak ours and trumpet around and lose an empire.
Yeah.
And wonder why everyone
No,
hates
okay.
us.
Yeah.
I really like the sentence though. We just ate breakfast, lol.
Yeah, we've just ate breakfast, lol. It felt weird, but I don't
I
have
just
time
paid
to
you off
ask.
because of the thing.
I look, wait. It felt weird, but I don't have time to ask. This bath needs to have... No, it doesn't.
Really?
It doesn't say the last bit, but it's
He's,
the
you know,
fact that
he's
it does
put
say
the-
that.
he's clearly just put a super expensive
Yeah.
bath bomb in, and he's like, I don't give a fuck. Like that
No,
I'm
but you
going to
could-
enjoy this.
You could text in the bath.
Right, Danger Ranger over there.
No,
Jesus
I
Christ.
lay in the bath.
Yeah, make your toast at the same time.
Oh, on the little, you know, this
And
little
dry
old
your
people
hair
that
while you're
trays
at it.
used to have.
I used to love those.
But you know what
My
I'm
mum
saying?
had
Like,
one.
only if old people had them. And
No,
Yeah, my
no.
grand- My gran had one, yeah.
March the 1st, 2019, 11 a.m.
I dropped my diary in the bath.
It's 11 o'clock. I have to go, I said as I waved goodbye to them.
From the
They
bath.
smiled back.
I have to go. Goes back to reading his book. I'm really late.
It has to go. The water just changes colour. They were just there, just viewing him smiling. March the 1st, 2019, 11:15 a.m. While on my way back to work, I checked
I
Facebook.
got a massive accident because I was writing in my diary while training.
While on
While
my way,
checking Facebook.
while on my way to work, I checked Facebook. I saw a lot of posts about politics, fashion trends, and selfies.
Okay. Oh, political statement about Facebook becoming shit.
There's this thing that caught my attention and brought chills to my whole body.
Wish
The
wish
water in my
outside.
body got cold now.
No,
He's on the way to it in the bath.
My brother posted a picture of them, smiling widely, enjoying the scenery, 3 of them holding hands, with a caption of Baguio Escapade 2019, dated February 28, 2019, 6 p.m.
Ah, so they didn't die, but they were definitely on holiday.
They were on holiday when the little boy was there taking his apple pie.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and his family also turned up at his house.
And why is the title, Who is the child I kissed? Why isn't it, Who's the whole fucking family I let eat my breakfast? You know, why is it just
And didn't
the boy?
utter a word.
Yeah, it's the whole
That would
family.
make me so angry if ghosts fucking rock up at my place and they make me waste food.
Yeah. You come back in and there's just loads of jam sandwiches
But,
in the bin,
okay,
and you're like, you fuck.
Okay, I'd like to point out, so the first 2 paragraphs, right? I got home from the office, kissed my nephew, blah, blah, blah. Then 11 p.m, went to my room. Whole house is mine since my brother, his wife, and his son is on a 5-day vacation. So he got home, saw his nephew, kissed him on the cheek, went to bed and went, it's a good thing the house is mine, max volume on the TV, time for bed.
Oh, I bet you love it, big boy. You need to learn.
I love the
Don't come to my home and tell me what I have to do. Go back to bed.
But I just think that if he retitled the story, it might have had greater impact. But I don't think if he had any other title, anyone would click on the story. Because Who Was the Child I Kissed is a pretty fucking amazing
yeah, it's going to get a lot of
article.
priests excited. They'll be clicking through that link on Reddit. The next creepypasta bear will be called James Killed Himself. And it will literally just be... I read one too many creepypastas and I thumbed my own eyes out, ended up getting my brain.
I might do the idea of reading like a really badly written long
classic,
one.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? And breaking it up.
Yeah, do it like a chapter.
Do it chapter by chapter so we can get invested in the characters, because so many of these are just like describing the long-winded way someone walked up the stairs.
Yeah.
But you're like, this is a short story. You don't have time to waste on... I looked at my white and golden drawer, which had my socks in it, and a small pair of little nipple tassels that I would.
Jonah, what's your favourite part of reading creepypastas?
The end.
They're short.
In all fairness, I mean, all of them are very short. It just takes a lot to get through sometimes.
Short and dissatisfying, like
your first couple of orgasms.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of The Late Shift. We will see you next week with more goofs and gaffs. And next week we're going to have Who Let You Near a Keyboard, and we'll have some piracy cons. So thank you for joining us this week.
Is it really going to be called piracy cons?
I've already expressed this and I got yelled at McDonald's for it.
Oh, okay.
I'm with Val.
Okay, fine.
So look forward to that, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us tonight. Bye-bye.